Santa Fe. I'm Carlene, and welcome to Living Santa Fe, and with two ex-mayors, Sam Pick and Larry Delgado, two of my favorites. I've worked with both of you,
Hi, Carlene.
right? We
Yes.
worked together. Major thing I worked on with both of you was the golf course.
That's right. That's
Yes.
right.
Yes, we did. We worked hard on that.
Very hard on it. And Maurice Banal is still around. I think Maurice and I are the only two left on the committee.
You're still on the committee, right?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But anyhow, that's what I've enjoyed working with both of you on, and other things too.
Yeah, it's doing pretty good. They have to figure out how to get the sewer plant working so you
Oh,
can
yeah.
start using effluent. It's hard to pay for city water.
No kidding.
Yes.
Yeah. Sam,
Yes,
you grew up in Santa Fe.
was born here.
You were born here. Your family were some of the first Jewish merchants
Right,
that
that's
came
correct.
into New Mexico. Tell us a little bit about them.
Well, they came in, they had a general store. There were four brothers actually that came in from Europe, a Jewish family, and the father of the four brothers and a sister were sent to the United States because of the problems with the persecution of Jews.
Mm-hmm.
So three of them ended up in New Mexico, and they had general stores here. One was in Glorieta, and one was in Torero, and one in Lamy. And then one of the brothers, ultimately Leo Pick, who you might know,
Yes.
worked in the highway department. So, but they go back a long ways, and then the family has been in here since the early 30s, and when the General Mines closed in Torero, then ultimately my father and his brother were in the laundry business here in Santa Fe. And Leo ended up, as I said, working for the highway department, buying right-of-way property. And all of them, if you know, being they were from Europe, but they all had to learn Spanish at that time. So Leo was very good speaking Spanish, so he could talk to everybody in the state when they were talking about the highway department improving roads.
Mm-hmm.
And Emil and Marcel ran the White Swan Laundry for many years. And then when my dad retired, my brother and I bought out Marcel and his son Bob, and then we ran the laundry for some 20-some years. And then after I sold out to Henry, I got involved in politics. And that's how I came about to know my good friend Larry Delgado,
Yeah.
who is actually a pillar of the community. I'm kind of an also-ran. I was telling him before they named a street after him called Delgado Street, and they have one named after me. I was much better mayor than him, and they named it before I was born. It's called Sam Street, and it's not off of Camino O'Leary, 2 blocks down from Bob Street. So I'm in part of the community, indelibly imprinted in the community.
Well, you had an interesting career as mayor.
Had a
Now,
good
I
time.
want to ask you, do you have any more of that Santa Fe
Santa Fe
perfume?
cologne, I have a bottle left with just the fumes, but that was quite a fragrant, and I traveled around the country promoting Santa Fe cologne.
I love that.
And it was interesting, that came about on a fluke. When they announced they were going to name it after Santa Fe, I went to New York City for the announcement, and I was unusually funny that day. And so they fired the group that was going to represent them and hired me. And they said, well, we'll give you $25,000 and all expenses to go around the country promoting Santa Fe cologne. Well, I was the mayor at the time, and so I said, I won't take the money. They gave me the $25,000. I donated it to the Fiesta Council, and they founded the Fiesta Foundation with that $25,000. So I traveled around for about 4 or 5 months going to Regis Philbin, teaching him how to cook tacos. That's a good story if you want to hear it.
I love this story.
Regis Philbin, he didn't like me much. And Kathy Lee Gifford was on at the
Yes.
same time. And I remember,
You probably flirted
prior
with
to-
her, too.
I'm sorry?
You probably flirted with her.
no, I didn't. No, he was there. And I knew Frank Gifford, who was a great football
Right.
player, as you guys
Sure,
remember,
sure.
and then on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
But prior to going to New York to do that, I was in Dearborn, Michigan, and my job was to promote Santa Fe cologne. So anyway, we have the interview at this one television station. I'm so busy talking about red chili and green chili and beautiful Christmases in Santa Fe. Don't even mention the cologne. So they call me at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, "Hey, Mayor, we're paying you to promote Santa Fe cologne. Somehow get that in there." I said, "Okay." So I'm in New York City. And so I'm going to tell Regis Philbin at the beginning of his show, I'm teaching you, Regis, how to make tacos. And I have a couple of things. I have an apron that said "weaned on green and red on red." The Chamber of Commerce had that, so you'll look good. And I'm going to teach you how to make tacos the way we do it in northern New Mexico, so you can eat well. And I brought this Santa Fe cologne so you can smell good. And I jammed that cologne right in front of the TV set. The producer was so upset afterwards. She said, "Hey, sir, you people pay to advertise." So anyway, and I came down to Detroit and did it one time, and they were wanting to talk about the Santa Fe Trail. And I said, "Yeah, well, the Santa Fe Trail ends in the Santa Fe Plaza, where we promote Santa Fe cologne we manufacture," and I'm jamming it again. And then I did the same thing in San Francisco for Sylvia Live. And that's the only way I knew how to do it, but I had to work it in so that I could justify the travel expenses they were paying to promote the cologne. So that was a kind of an exciting time, and I enjoyed doing that.
Well, you promoted Santa Fe really well.
Well, people got tired of that, though. I remember
I tried to get
the
a
last
bottle of it.
Fiesta parade that I was in with my people. You know, we don't be on the float going on the Fiesta parade. A few people gave me the Rio Arriba salute, and I'm not going to show you how that is, but I finally figured at the time, maybe my time's over.
I still get the Reba salute on Sirius Road.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's quite prevalent in Santa Fe. So that's pretty much where I'm at on the politics. But I served 10 years and then and didn't run again. And Debbie Jaramillo took over. She's the lady that lives on Bob Street.
Yes.
She was the mayor, and then Larry and Debbie and I ran for mayor 4 years later. And I thought I was going to win. There was a poll that said I was 10 points ahead, and so I lost. and I lost to Larry Delgado. And I couldn't understand that. You know? So I was depressed for a day or two, but it took me about an hour to congratulate him, and he turned out to be a great mayor.
Well, I'm glad. I'm real thankful for both of you. And Larry had interesting times too. I remember one of the things that Larry was always so polite, always at the meetings. And Charlie Trujillo would come in.
Charlie Grego.
Or Charlie
Grego.
Grego.
Oh, yeah,
said,
Charlie Grego, yes.
"Mr. Delgado, I'm going to run against you. You're
Yes.
worthless." And, you know, he could give him a hard time. And Larry never lost his temper. He kept your cool.
No, I always felt, you know, in a situation like that, I always felt that Charlie had the right to speak.
He sure did.
And it was these petitions from the floor. We had an item on the agenda that people were allowed to come up and say, and he had as much right as anybody else to speak. Some of the councilors got a little upset about it.
Oh, I know they
But
did.
they said that's fine. You know, he's fine. He'd do his thing, and I always treated him with a lot of respect.
Yeah.
He was just a citizen like everybody else.
And that happens at our city council meetings all the time. I remember Differente,
Oh yeah,
the artist,
sure.
and
Who's that?
El Differente.
Oh, yeah, Tommy Massione.
Tommy Massione.
Yeah,
He
of
ran
course.
for
Yeah, he was going to be
for mayor, and he got a lot of votes.
And you know, these are a lot of people too, Carlene, that they love their city. They care about their city.
Oh my gosh.
And like anything else, I've always said that if you see something in the city you think needs work or can be better, come out and say it. You know, say it. That's what you do. That's because we live here.
Your family goes back to the 1600s.
That's correct.
You're the De Vargases and the Ortizes and the Delgados and all related somewhere down the line.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about your
Well, you know, go back. It's kind of divided the family in regard to where we live. The Delgados, almost the Delgados lived here in Santa Fe, and then there was the Romeros, who were from Las Vegas. That was my grandma. She was a Romero, the Romero brothers who built the Plaza Cafe a hotel in Las Vegas. So it goes way back, and you know, they owned property, and they did a lot of things. They did a lot of things in Las Vegas in regard to how they made their livings. They used to supply ties to the railroad. they would sell the ties to the railroad as the railroad was coming in. But as you know, Las Vegas at the time was kind of looked at as the next Denver because of the railroad. Well, after the years went by, the railroad decided they were going to pull out. Vegas in its time used to be the place to be because they had the roundhouses where they did all the repairing of the railroad stock. So people had money. Santa Fe was very quiet compared to Las Vegas. We couldn't wait to go stay with our aunts when we were living in Vegas. That was a happening place. It was on that. But the family goes back a long way here in Santa Fe and Las Vegas and northern New Mexico.
It also had one of the largest Jewish populations in New Mexico were in Las Vegas.
Oh, the Enfield. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They had a huge cemetery.
Yes.
I don't know whether you've ever been there. It's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, but all those places, and where people would congregate. The Rough Rider days. I don't know if Sam ever went there. I bet sometimes Sam's family went there for Rough Rider days in Las Vegas, and that was Roosevelt's. Teddy Roosevelt's group, in fact, would come. The ones that were still living would come to Las Vegas for a huge celebration. But it was big time. It is big.
They had one of the biggest prize fights in the history of the United States.
Yes.
What was his name? Jack Johnson?
Jack
Oh,
Johnson.
really?
Yeah, Jack Johnson fought there.
The black man.
But and the family, we always were very close. Our family's always been very close. We've lost a lot obviously, and but we always tried to be a family, always very close to each other. When I married Angie, she was in Ortiz, and they had property down there. Her grandpa used to own City Cash Market, which was right across the street from the Lindsay, right on the corner. It later became Raul's Restaurant. Angie's grandpa owned that store. And then Angie's uncle owned Percy's on Canyon Road. That was another uncle. And then Willie Ortiz owned a grocery store on San Francisco Street. So they were merchants
now I know
too.
how I lost the election.
You can't talk about anybody in Santa Fe
Really?
because they're all related.
I get depressed when I hang around him, like when we were just coming up here to do your show. Some lady hugged him and shook my hand. and I think I'm almost as handsome as him. I at least should get a hug. So I can see how it works for me. It took me about 20 years to figure it out. But he's a very popular guy.
Oh yes, I know he
And he
was.
goes back, and everybody's related to him. That's the worst part.
Well, he also worked for the highway department.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah.
largest
That's
agency
true.
in the state.
Which was a great time for me. I couldn't have worked in a better place. Not only were we working associates, but we were friends too.
We all grew up
became
together.
friends. We really did. It was a great place to work. And we were fortunate enough to work there when, I think it was President Eisenhower, that when he came back from Europe said, we're going to build an interstate. He saw the Autobahn in Europe, how well it worked. And so he's the one that said, let's build it. And I know the Fed said to us, you guys design it and build it. Don't worry about the money, it's there.
Yeah, and because of it, New Mexico has the largest interstate, it used to be anyway, in the country. North and south, east and west,
Yeah.
Deming area down there.
Yeah.
Our interstate is huge, 92% federal funding.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's exactly what it was, and it was a great place to work.
And there were a lot of jobs,
Yes.
infrastructure.
A lot of work. And if you think about it, it's probably the biggest public works project that's ever been built in the United States.
That's right.
Think of building the interstate from California to New York.
That's
what
right.
it took going to Chicago.
Right.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
huge.
Was a wonderful
So I was always
project.
very proud to be part of that.
Yeah, it was fun growing up there.
Yes, it
I had
it was a great place to be.
I had a laugh every minute.
Yes, it was a good place to be.
Yeah.
Our old friend Edward Gonzalez was there too.
Oh my gosh.
At the
Yeah.
highway.
Gonzo.
Gonzo. We miss him.
Miss him very much.
Yeah.
And he's a cousin. Yeah.
See how it works? He's
You
a
didn't
cousin.
stand a chance. You should have been nicer to the Italians.
I have a cousin that lives in California who I think is a good friend of yours, Norma Jean,
Oh, absolutely.
Theo Pick's daughter.
We were in high school
And
together.
she didn't vote for me either. So,
There you go.
She loves you, though.
yeah, she loves me from afar.
Yeah, she tells me that's the only relative I have left
Yeah.
in Santa Fe.
Her father was a character. I told you that he spoke great Spanish, and He's the only guy I knew. At one time I had 2 cars. One was a Kaiser and one was a Frazier.
Oh, the Kaiser
Neither
Frazier.
one of those cars are around anymore, and he's
No.
the only guy I knew that had them. Ugliest cars ever.
Yeah.
But he had them.
Oh, yeah.
They lived on Kearney Street.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, Norma was a good friend. In fact, she was just here a
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
and
she
we
just
went to
lost her
lunch.
brother.
Yes,
Bob.
she told me.
Remember Bob Pitt?
Yes.
Yeah, he
Yes.
passed away.
And Henry.
Watch
Henry,
that smoking, man. That gets you.
Henry was a guy I really liked.
Henry,
He was
yeah,
a
that's
good
my
person.
brother.
Yes, he was a good person.
He was a
Good guy. I
kind
always
of-
liked him so much. Yeah.
And the laundry service was the best. And even the Manhattan Project.
Mhm.
You guys did all the laundry for the Manhattan
Up
Project.
in Los Alamos.
Up in Los Alamos.
I remember when I was a child during the Second World War, I would ride in the truck up there, and you would go to the gate, and the security guard would take you to a place called the Fuller Lodge. You may have heard
That's
of it
right.
over there. And we would pick up the laundry, and then deliver the clean laundry back. And we never knew whose laundry it was because all the laundry tickets had numbers.
Yep.
Digits.
Yeah.
So you didn't know whose laundry you were doing. We
Very
didn't know who
secure.
was up there. We didn't even know what was going on.
So you were actually doing nuclear.
We didn't do the nuclear stuff at that time. They never.
I
That was
was
later. We've already made everybody green up there, and then they finally figured that out.
The
about
reason,
10
reason
minutes.
I asked that is
Yeah.
because you know how Sam is. I
Yeah.
thought, well, maybe
It was a place called the First Interstate Laundry. Ended up doing the nuclear
Yeah.
type laundry,
Yeah.
and their plant was located in California. So that's how far Los Alamos had to send it. But
Oh,
we
yeah.
were able to do everything else, and I'm sure we did it during the Second World War because they weren't that. Hell, you didn't even know what was going on over
No,
there.
no,
Much
no,
less
no,
it was
not
their
at all.
nuclear, you know.
exactly.
We just did a complete show on one of the main photographers that was up there. It was taking pictures, and I happened to get in touch with his daughter, and we did a complete show on all these photos
Yeah.
that they had
Yeah.
that have never been shown.
Yeah.
We even had the blind attorney in it. He was in charge of the feds. He was the judge for the feds up there.
Really?
$2 to $15 were the fines.
Yeah.
So, if you got caught drinking
Well,
too
yeah.
much, or probably there was a lot of that, partying too much.
The security was amazing because I remember going up there to play against Los Alamos, on that. And it was interesting because the schools had to send your name in ahead of time and they'd run you to make sure, and when you'd get there, they'd come in and count heads. The
Yeah.
security guys, you'd go in for your game and they'd count heads again and make sure everybody that went in came out.
Yeah.
So it was very secure.
Well, they
place.
didn't trust Santa Fe because there were a lot of spies around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and plus then we had the Japanese interred here.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Up in Casa Solano
Casa
area.
Solano.
That's where it was.
We did their laundry too. We didn't know what that was all about either. The United States did some terrible things.
Yeah,
Those
that
people
was-
were Americans,
that was
and
bad.
they moved them from
And
California
you got
over
the
here.
you got the plaque through.
Yes.
I remember that.
It was because
you had some trouble over that.
A lot of people that lived in Castellano, we lived in Castellano
Yeah.
a long
I know
time.
you did.
And they would be digging in their backyard and you'd find things.
Yeah.
Porky Lithgow, he
Yeah, he lived
right
up
next
there
to
too,
me,
yeah.
And they'd find just a fence post or barbed wire or whatever. It
was right there where
It
Castellano
was
was,
right in
right?
where Castellano, yeah.
I maintain that all the elm trees that they planted in Casa Solano were put in there by the Japanese to get back at
They
us.
should have given us those cherry trees.
Yeah.
The elm trees are a pain. We
Yeah.
need a cherry.
They are a pain.
Yeah,
They're terrible. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on now. Because part of their show today, and we're going to do a series of them if we can, is getting the boat out here in Santa Fe. We're living in very unusual times.
It's true.
You say years from now, there will be someone out there that's either going to be a writer or a composer or a movie mogul that will do shows, write books about our history here right now. It's a kind of a scary time. It'll be a story told. And Shakespeare would have loved to have lived here during this period. We've all seen a lot of things. I don't know, I guess because of my age, I'm younger than both of you, incidentally.
That's right.
I'm younger than you are.
yeah.
So I don't remember as much, but I remember enough that the history. The history of this country is wonderful. My family came over from Europe, and my dad was a first generation.
Yeah.
My mother was second generation.
If you think about it, we're all immigrants.
That's
We're
right.
all immigrants, and we have immigrants in this town that are wonderful. They're working, keeping this town going because it is a tourism town. So we have a lot to be thankful for. I don't know what you guys were doing when the pandemic hit, but it's like a traumatic dream right now. I
Seems like.
look back and thinking but it wasn't a dream, it really happened.
Yes, it did.
We had businesses closed, we had hospitals loaded, people were dying, starting off small, to 100, to 200, to 1,000, and then to 1 million in this country. And kids were online, going to school. It was a traumatic time here in the United States. And I don't know how you feel about it, but here we are sitting in the oldest hotel in the United States,
Right.
La Fonda. This town has a history that goes way back.
Big time.
How many governments have we been under?
5,
Well,
yeah,
Spanish.
5.
Yeah, Spanish,
Well,
Mexican,
the Spanish,
yeah.
the Mexican, the Anglos,
Yep.
We had-
the Native Americans, Hopi, who kicked everybody out. And so,
Well, during the Civil War, and the Confederates and the Union.
yes.
Yeah.
In fact, I want to dedicate this show to the servicemen in this town. I went out to the National Cemetery the other day, and I just looking around at all these graves that were out there. World War II, World War I, Vietnam, South Korea. These men and women fought for this country to give us the right to vote.
That's right.
And we owe them a debt, I think.
You know, I was a serviceman, but I can't take credit. You know, we're at a fortunate age. I went into the service after the Korean War and before the Vietnam War, so it was right in the middle. So I ended up being a general's aide in Aberdeen, Maryland, and my job was to take the general's wife shopping and to sign the morning report for the WAC detachment. There were a Women's Army Corps at that time.
Right.
So I didn't do a lot of fighting, you know. Somebody showed me a rifle. I said, "What do you do with that?" You know? So that was my career. I wish I could have done better.
Yeah, well,
But I claim to be a veteran.
well,
And I did qualify for the cemetery.
yes, absolutely. That place is the most beautiful sight out there. Sometimes
beautiful.
I
Oh, yeah.
just walk around out there and go.
It is
walking.
huge now. Have you
Oh,
been out there lately?
Yeah. In fact, when I was in office, we were able to get an additional 5 acres or maybe a little more that the city
That's
gave to
right.
the cemetery at that time, so it had more areas.
Yes. Well, after all of this happened, our economy collapsed. Okay? Now that was in the last administration. The economy collapsed. And we're coming back. And I don't know, I see it. I know that we're not perfect. We haven't gotten everything done that we need to get done. But a lot has been done since the pandemic. We got everybody vaccinated. Some people still poo-poo the vaccinations.
That's right.
We got a spreading of measles, for crying out loud, right now because people won't take the vaccination. I had to stand in school and the nun said, "You get vaccinated." I don't know about you guys.
Oh, yes.
When we were growing up, we didn't even question those signs.
No.
You had to have shots to get into school.
That's exactly right.
Chicken pox shots, or
Oh, yeah, the
And your-
whole,
and
the
your
measles shots.
And your parents made sure this happened.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't
yeah.
we
We didn't
didn't
question
jacking it
it.
around. You're going to get the shots, and that's the way it's going to be.
I remember my mother would say, "You get the shot and don't you come home crying, and don't
That's
you
right.
cry, you're a cry baby." I didn't cry.
Oh, you didn't.
Yeah, really, that's the way it is.
One of Kennedy's kids, Robert Kennedy's kids, running for president.
Yes.
He doesn't believe that.
Nope.
No, he
No.
doesn't believe in
Never
the
said.
shots.
Okay.
Well, whatever, I guess.
That's
But
always a good
I
term,
think-
whatever. Yeah.
I think right now, the economy's coming back. The employment rate, there are jobs everywhere, good paying jobs. The economy, the stock market is booming. That helps your retirement, my retirement, 401ks, everything. So I see it coming back, but we're facing some problems. We've got an ex-president who is under investigation for 91 things. In fact, the investigations are going on right now. He's being tried. It's unfortunate. It's just one of those things that are happening. And it's
What's
kind of-
interesting about that is that people who are supporters of Trump support him regardless.
I know.
He has 91, and he's going to go to court Monday, and it's not losing from his base. And part of the problem we have in our country now is we don't listen to each other, and I can categorize myself as one of those. When we start talking about politics, there's nothing they can say about a certain president that I'm going to agree with, nothing that they can say about the present president that I'm going to agree with, and that's just
Yeah.
the way it is right now.
Haven't you always, though, in any president we've ever had, we've disagreed with them on some level, but not
as
to this
vehemently
point.
as they
That's
are now.
right.
We're just we're closing our ears now.
Yeah.
At least you wanted to listen to the other side of the story. Now I don't even listen to the other side of the story.
That's right.
I mean, when they say the election didn't happen, we got cheated. I'm just tired of hearing that after 4 years.
And that's true too, but it all boils down to, people are concerned about what's happening in our country
Sure.
now. And we go back to COVID and the pandemic and all. America's a very strong country. We're very strong.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was a tough time for a lot of people. Can you imagine your kids weren't going to class? Were you scared to death that they were learning anything? We couldn't go out the way we liked and all this, but we come back. We had our scientists start coming up with a serum, but I think what it all boils down to is people that disagree, whether it's disagree with the administration that's here or the administration back that's wanting to come back. It all comes down to voting.
It's
And
voting.
people, so many times, Carlene and Sandy, you know it too, is people will come up and just say, oh, this is terrible, this is bad. And then you say, did you vote? They say, no, I didn't vote.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's all right there. If you really feel strong about something, go vote. Go vote. Be a Charlie Grego and go and do it with your vote. Come up and say, I don't like this. I don't like this. And if you don't like this, what's happening, I'm going to go vote, and I'm going to try to do. It sounds like it's only one vote. It's not only one vote.
No.
It becomes millions after a little while. But go vote. That's what it's all about. And there's no reason not to vote. I was just looking, we got an insert in today's paper from the League of Women Voters. The voting places there is. There's no reason. You can vote anywhere you like now. You don't have to go to a particular
No,
place where
they've
it's
got,
going to vote.
they've got absenteeism. They've got voting places all over Santa Fe.
So if you've got a problem with it, that's one way of doing it. That's one way of doing it. Instead of reading the paper, oh, I hate this, or I like this, or whatever. And if you don't like what's going on, whether it's at the federal level, at the state level, or at the local level, go vote and change it.
That's right. I got up this morning, the first thing I do, I read the newspaper and I turn on the TV and watch all the major channels, CNN, MSNBC, British broadcasting and everything. And all of a sudden I hear our neighbors, Arizona, are going back to 1864, pulling out a decision of banning all abortions back in 1864, and they're going to stick with this. We destroyed a 50-year law, Roe versus Wade. We didn't, the Supreme Court did. And women are on the march.
Well,
They
you
do
got
not
that.
want their reproductive care done away with. that's one of the problems they're going to have here.
Well, you know, the problem
Women
is
are going to
that
go vote.
people have to realize elections have consequences.
That's right.
And that happened with this Roe versus Wade, when you can get a particular winner is able to select people in the Supreme Court who have a philosophical bent that he can count on, and that's how the Roe versus Wade was overturned.
That's right.
And so you need to vote because you have a say about policy. Now, voting-wise, in the United States, I think there's about 65% of the people who are registered to vote don't. 35 don't vote.
Right.
65 do. But the ones who are registered to vote in all elections, over 90% will show up to vote. I think I'm saying it wrong, as I normally do, because I'm dazzled by the facts that you guys have presented. The way I should say it is 65% of the people eligible to vote, vote. But 94% of the people who are registered to vote, vote. So there's a lot of people eligible to vote, but they don't register to vote.
Yeah.
That didn't come out well, but we'll just have to live with that.
That's exactly it. You know, if you go down to the county clerk's office and talk to them about the numbers and things like that,
Yeah.
they say we have so many people that are eligible to vote,
But they
but
don't
registered. And in other words, like, do they care? Do they really care? Or if they care, are they willing to take 1 hour on voting day to
Right.
vote? You know, just
Well, a lot of them say, well, my vote doesn't count. But in the Gore versus Bush election, it sure as heck counts.
You know, I think, what was it, Bush won by 400 votes or 500
Yeah,
votes. So if they would have gotten 600 votes more out for Gore, he would have won.
And if Hillary got the popular vote, but she didn't get the electoral votes.
Well, that's the big debate that's going to
There
be
she
coming up
goes.
in the future.
Yes.
That's happened 2 elections in a row.
That's right.
Biden got, what, 6 million votes more popular votes.
Yes. And she was gracious enough to say, that's it, I'm getting out.
yes.
And
But she won that election.
That's a disappointing part about the Electoral College, and I have mixed feelings about it because we get 5 votes regardless. That's all we get coming out of New Mexico. And if we get out of the Electoral College, I don't know that these candidates are even going to stop to come into New Mexico to campaign. And it's going to be left up to the larger states to determine who the president is.
They'll
So
control.
that's the
They'll
argument
control.
there.
Big populist.
But I know going in today that unless there's a lightning strike, New Mexico is going to be a Democrat state, and they're going to get the 5 votes. And they're talking about the president being elected with maybe 6 states which are in play. And that seems to be a problem when your vote doesn't
It
count.
is a problem.
But your vote counts down the ballot. When you start talking about the county assessor and the
Yep.
sheriff
Yep.
and all of these votes, your vote's very, very important in New Mexico.
Absolutely. Yes, they
You know,
are.
they can decide to, if you go to a school board vote for a bond issue, 15% of the people vote. That's not good enough, you know. So you can get organized and win something without a majority of the public even getting involved in the vote. That's not good.
No, it's not good. It's not at all. And then, you know, and the thing about it, and then I'll bring it all the way down to what Sam's talking about, the state level or the local level.
That's where it's
These
important.
things, those are the ones that are really
Yes.
close to us. Yeah, Washington is close to us and very important to us and what they do over there. But what happens at the state level and what happens at the local level
Yeah.
is really important.
County level.
That's the thing that we
Doesn't
see
count.
every day.
And if you get a big vote, you can really reflect the policy of the community.
Yes.
And you have a say. That's where your vote's very important. But you need to get the vote for those kinds of elections.
Yes.
So, you have a real feeling.
Well, besides the reproductive, women's reproductive systems and everything, this morning I hear Christian nationalism. That's bullshit, pardon my French. This country was not founded on Christianity. There was not one mention of Jesus Christ in our forefathers. It was God. And there are many gods.
That's true.
Yeah.
people believe in many different religions. And Christian nationalism is not the right term to use. We are a country of all religions,
That's
all
correct.
nationalities. And we better learn to live together because this is a small planet now.
Absolutely.
I saw the cameras out in space today, and way out in space. And there's a lot out there that we don't know about.
Of course, I believe so.
There was a funny cartoon in the paper. Shows Michelangelo's Jesus, it's in the Sistine Chapel when he come down with the, and touching the man on earth with his. They have Donald Trump on there trying to touch God. He says, "Who are you?"
That's good.
Yeah.
So, we got to think about these things. We can't hate people because of the religion.
I think God knows that.
Well, I
God's
hope
going to
so.
judge you based on your heart. If you have a kind heart, I think you're going to be good regardless of what your religion is.
You've got to think
Some
about
people
these
can
things.
go to church or the synagogue every week and still have a black heart. You're not going to get into heaven. God knows that.
That's
Of course, that's just me.
Yeah.
But somebody's going to argue and say there's no God, so that's another
Well,
argument.
you're going to have that too, but at least you believe in something.
I do.
Absolutely.
Don't step on
Sure.
bugs and have a kind heart.
Yes.
I can't even kill spiders anymore.
Beg your pardon?
I can't even kill spiders anymore. Okay, the other thing that's hot issue, January 6th. Now, I was watching TV that day when that broke out. I saw these people attacking the Capitol, which to me is like going to the cathedral. You do it with grace, right? I saw people climbing up, banging cops in the head, spraying gas and junk in their face. I was so disgusted. And it's not a riot, it's an insurrection.
One of your candidates doesn't believe that.
I know.
He believes they're hostages, and if he gets in, he's going to let them out that day. So,
It was really a sad day for our country.
It was
If somebody
terrible.
had asked me 3 years ago, do you think anything like this would happen? I said, there's no way. We're not that kind of people. We would never see anything that I was looking at on TV that day. I couldn't believe what was happening. And it was sad. It was really sad that the rest of the world is always looking at America. We're it. And I'm not boasting about it. I am boasting about our country, but we're it. America is it.
We've saved the world.
It is. And they're looking at us like, wow, this is happening in the United States of America. What the heck is this about? I think we were all thinking this would happen. I've never thought that would happen. Not in our country.
And think about the people, because of it, that have gone to prison. Our leaders, some of our leaders, the insurrection, people that actually believed they were doing the right thing, they're now in prison.
Yeah, exactly.
that one crazy guy with the paint, though, he's running for office in Arizona, isn't he?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
We had the Cowboys for Trump
yes.
here in New Mexico, here in Santa Fe.
Uh-huh.
I thought they better get out of here. I found some figures that I was looking at in the paper, besides this thing with Gore versus Bush. I found some other things here that were kind of interesting. You know that women got the vote. I'll tell you who introduced it. New Mexico Governor Octaviano Larazolo,
Yep.
during the ratification for women's votes on February 21st of 1930. We were ahead of everybody on it.
And letting women vote, you mean?
Yes. And the blacks, that was the suffragettes were beaten, they were killed, and they were sent to mental institutions.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty bad. Ed used to tell me all the time, see, aren't you lucky you were born today, not back then? And Native Americans, 100 years.
That's right.
53 years since 18-year-olds gained the right to vote. I mean, these are interesting statistics here.
Well, but we're still doing some of that, and not in New Mexico particularly, but there are certain states which are trying to keep minorities from voting. For example, they cut down the number of polling places that you can vote in the black community
That's
or
right.
the Latino community, or they'll say, well, we're going to only vote during business hours, which doesn't really make sense because a lot of people have to work for a living and can't vote, and there's still some of that going on, and you have to be aware that even the gerrymandering that goes on by the legislature, and maybe New Mexico could be accused of some of that. You know, when the census comes out, you draw that map to put it to your advantage. Just this last time, that one congressional district that the second is, I don't know how they came up with that one, but the courts ruled that it was a legitimate gerrymander. So I don't know. I'd like to be objective and give everybody an equal chance.
Well, yes.
But if you're the majority party, you structure it to favor your party.
You're going to move that boundary.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the blacks have it's been hard on them for a long time now.
Sure.
They didn't get to vote for a long time. The black women didn't get to vote for a long time.
But you know, New Mexico is a very understanding state.
We
I've
are.
got a statistic
We're
that
different.
when I was state Democratic chairman, James Lewis ran for treasurer, and he's black out of Albuquerque, and we only have 7% blacks in the state, and he was the largest vote getter during that election. And that says a lot about the rest of the New Mexicans. They liked him for what he stood for and how he portrayed himself.
I
That
worked
says
with
a lot
him
for our state.
indirectly when I was on the PERA board. He is a class act, a gentleman, wonderful person, smart as a whip.
But we're used to living with different cultures. We've been doing it since I was born, with the Hispanics and the Anglos and the Native Americans, and we lived together in the same neighborhoods, and we grew up together.
Went to school together, you know. The whole thing.
We didn't have a lot of blacks then, but we certainly didn't think about that.
Yeah.
The few that we have are outstanding citizens.
Yeah.
Television repair guys.
Yeah, and you don't you vote for the person.
Right.
You vote to the person.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to vote for this lady. I'm going to vote for this man because I think they're qualified and I think they can do a really good job for us. That's what you look at it. But and then we can go back. We just go back. You got to vote. You just got to vote. People got to vote.
We're going to do a show with the county clerk's office, and I'm impressed with her, this Catherine Clark. She has this thing organized to the top, not only here in Santa Fe, but she works with other cities too.
And you know,
And
our
our
state was
Secretary
voted
of
one of the
State.
cleanest election states.
Absolutely, that's just what I was going to tell
Oh,
you.
well, thank you.
Yeah, you tell me.
Sorry
about
to
it.
usurp that.
Yeah, it's true.
But, you know, I don't know the real facts, but weren't they number one as the cleanest, most well-run election?
Well-run election.
So that says a lot
Here in
about
New
our state.
Mexico.
Yes, it
We
does.
run.
Yeah, we are.
And all the way down to even our city. When you'd run and I'd run, you didn't have any, you know, oh, well, there's a mess up in the way the votes have been counted. No. You know, the polls will close a few hours later. You knew who won, and that was it. It was done right. It was done right. Whether it was the city clerk, whether it was the state people involved, or whoever it was.
And the people that volunteer to do this, they never get any credit. That's a hard job.
Sure.
Yes, it is.
You know, they volunteer to go to the polls, help people vote, you know, help tell them where their precincts are. I mean, the whole bit. They're wonderful. And so there's no excuse not to vote.
No. Well, I don't care if the school board, whatever it is, at least have your say.
You know, I just finished reading Liz Cheney's book,
Oh, did
Oath
you?
and Honor. That is a must read for everybody in this country. This woman, I was so impressed. There were things in that book I didn't know because they've never come out. She is a note taker. She kept emails. She kept phone calls. She talked to people, the plebe, that worked in the offices. She wrote this magnificent book. and I highly recommend it. You'll see the insurrection, the way those committees were run while the investigations were going on, were top notch. And that was hard to do.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like a really good book.
She was
is.
very courageous. Is very courageous.
Oh, she's still coming out. So I really recommend. She made a statement the other day at Drake University. She was making a speech down there, and she simply and directly said, "You can fix bad policy, but you can't fix a broken constitution." That's what it amounts to.
A broken constitution, you say?
You can't
Yes.
fix a broken constitution. And if we're not careful,
The
we're gonna
problem,
lose that.
the Constitution, I think it's a tremendous piece of work, but we're misinterpreting it a lot.
A lot.
And then you also have to understand that many years ago, when it was established, people didn't realize how the world and our country was going to evolve, like weapons. They thought you had the right to protect yourself with weapons. Of course, everyone agrees with that, but they never envisioned cannons and laser shots and all these rifles that can shoot a neighborhood out.
That's right.
But they keep saying, well, what is it? The Bill of Rights allows you to bear weapons, but the people who found our country never thought of the type of weapons that they're on the market nowadays.
They didn't think we'd be going in and killing kids in schools and putting them in caskets.
Yeah. No, not at all. I think that was probably put in the fact that when they put the Constitution together, they were still having this dispute between the United States and England.
That's right.
England took, 2 shots at us, and that thing, it didn't work. This thing, and they always, they may come back, she'll say, everybody should be armed and ready to go. But that was the thinking at that particular time.
Sure.
But it has just gone.
It's gotten out of hand.
Yeah, sure it is.
I mean, I believe everybody has a right to carry an arm, but I sure don't believe.
Not these
What about-
automatic rifles
not
that
these
are meant
automatic rifles.
for the warfare.
Not at all.
And
They were
have
thinking muskets.
They have rights, but what about the rights of the kids?
Well, it's interesting that you read a story about something that's happened. Some person goes into a school and all that, and sometimes you see the press gives that particular person more ink than the survivors, than the moms and dads, and these. Imagine that big time suffering. They take one of your children, or a husband or a wife, whatever it is. But the press is over. You open the press and there's a picture of the guy who did it all. Oh, that's the bad guy. He gets all the press, But they don't say anything about the survivors. What about the survivors? This doesn't end a week after this thing took place. You live with that for the rest of your life. A child or somebody like that.
Uvalde, there's a
That'll
best
never
example.
go away.
Never.
Never go away.
Those people will never forget.
You don't think about them. You don't read about them. It's true.
One more thing, and then we'll end this. This Ukraine war.
Yes.
We formed a real pact with NATO on this, and we've got to stick by it. In World War II, it's happening today. They want to get the Ukraine, they want to take all the Baltic countries, Russia. Putin's always wanted to do this. We've got to protect the Ukraine.
Well, I agree with you, and we have to defend them. And Russia, if they conquer Ukraine, they're going to go somewhere else. They're going to keep trying to become the world power, and they're not. Their economy's bad, and they're not that strong, but they can.
And
they're not afraid to.
They don't like it either. The Russians are.
But with the way the Congress is fighting now, they do nothing anymore. Their favorability rating is below a mayor, even a used car dealer. They get nothing done, and they're fighting, just because they're just not listening, as we talked about earlier.
And
we
then
need to help the Ukraine people.
And you look back again, as we mentioned earlier, is that America's looked at, whether it's in Ukraine, whether it's in the Middle East, or wherever it is. If something happens around the world,
It affects
everybody
us.
looks over. Okay, America, what are you going to do about this?
That's right.
It's true.
Where's your position on it? That happens.
I just
It
got through
happens.
reading.
It happens like, the thing about Big Brother. Okay, Big Brother. Okay, I'm in trouble, and all my big brothers there. They're there. How are you going to work this out for us, or how are you going to help us? That's the thing about being America. They look at us for all of this, and it puts us in many cases in a bad place.
I just finished reading 1941, the year that Germany lost the war. That's the name of it. And it goes into all of this fascism that was going on in Europe, Italy, Poland. Poland got stomped on, Czechoslovakia got stomped on. All the Baltic countries. It could happen again. Poland's right on the
Right next, they're
right,
next.
right next door, yeah. And I think we have an obligation.
Well, like if you mention, the spread of this to Poland, place like that, if Poland becomes involved or someday or invaded or they get pulled into it, Poland's going to look. Okay, U.S., what are you going to do? What are you guys going to do?
We're getting in the same jam with Israel.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It started out pretty positive for Israel, and it's turning negative now.
Yeah.
Because the head of Israel is a guy that just wants to keep his job,
Keep his job.
and he doesn't care, and we keep supplying the weapons.
Yeah.
Our President Biden's catching a lot of heat about that.
Yeah.
They demonstrated in front of the Capitol just yesterday
That's
because
right.
of the anti-Israeli people.
But
It's difficult problems. They're difficult. Just like the homeless situation here in Santa Fe.
Yes.
They're everywhere.
Mhm.
And you mentioned in the beginning times are difficult now. Being a mayor now would be much more difficult than when I did it.
Yes.
We just don't. They have bigger problems than we had to face.
Serious problem.
And the city's
You know.
growing. The city's growing.
It's growing,
Big time.
and it's tough to govern here because we don't have the resources. If you go out today, you'll see those homeless people on almost every corner now. And I feel guilty not giving them money, but there's not enough money in the world to keep passing out. And what do you do about it? People ask me, and I say, I really don't know. And the more you try and give stuff away, the more the word gets out in the rest of the United States. Come to Santa Fe, they're giving it all away. You can't do that. You've got to give them opportunity, but you just can't just come up provide free stuff.
And any program that you develop, whether you're going to help, you set this program up to help people who you feel need help.
Right.
Okay, but somebody's always going to play the game. He's going to work the game.
Yeah.
Somebody's
Scam the system, right?
Scam the system. It's going to happen. But this homeless thing is a tough one. It's not only tough in Albuquerque.
It's
It's
all
like
nationally.
It's all
the
over.
whole country is dealing with this.
And the jobs are there. And God, they're wonderful jobs.
Who's that?
The jobs here in Santa Fe.
But there's still a lot of
But
stores advertising help needed. My daughter owns a grocery store in town, and she's always 6 or 7 people short.
yeah.
And they have a permanent board out in front of their store. Apply within.
That's
You know.
it.
And I don't know why we can't fill some of these jobs.
And the people, it's interesting, a lot of people, they talk about the border and a lot of people that are coming. The people that are coming here are the ones that are doing a lot of the work.
And they want the
They
jobs.
go to a construction site or go to a restaurant, and you see that these are people, they want to work.
That bridge
And-
that collapsed,
Yeah.
they could be giving that to people that are coming into this country that jump on those jobs.
There's a lot of jobs in this community that the immigrants are doing, though.
Oh,
Yes.
We
you
need
bet.
our legal immigrants coming in here.
Legal, exactly.
And I got in an argument with somebody they make the casual comment, "I hate immigrants." I says, "That's not a very bright statement. My mother and father were both immigrants. And, but they weren't illegal immigrants. They've got to get control of that. That's another problem that they're having a difficult time with. We need the immigrants in the United States.
Yeah.
There's jobs that Americans are not going to do.
Just look around.
They're not going to work over Bueno Foods.
Yeah. Go to a construction site.
There you go.
Oh, I know.
And these are very skilled people.
Very good. We need them. We encourage it. We should. And you know, it's not just the president's fault. It's again, Congress is not making a plan which will work. And they've had 20 years to do it, and they will not get
Congress
together.
has got to get on
It's
it.
their fault.
Oh,
Yes.
God, yes.
I don't know. We're not going to solve it, but we
That's
can
why
talk
getting
a lot
out the
about
vote
it.
is so important.
And
That's
getting
right.
the vote
You've got to
out.
get a strong enough
Bottom
vote
line.
where you dictate the policy to that elected official, and they're responsible to the constituents that elect them. But if you don't vote, they do whatever they want. They don't care because they're going to get reelected again anyway.
And you know, and this starts within. You can take it all the way back to your families. And you know, Sam and I can talk about it. And we vote. You know, our families vote. But what you got to do is that if you really feel strong enough that things aren't going the way you like, or you know, on this, not only you go vote, but talk to your family, talk to grandma and grandpa, and the whole bit. Talk to everybody to come down and vote if you don't like what's happening. That's how you make change.
It's something. It's our duty. I really believe that. And we live in this country. We've got to support this country.
Yes, exactly.
And support the good things in it.
I guess we're a little bit spoiled. I'm 88 years old and
No way.
born comfortably, and we've never had anybody attack the United States. I never missed a meal.
No.
You know, living in this country is the greatest
Warm every night.
luck in the world. You know, I hope if I'm reincarnated, I hope I still come back as an American in some fashion. You know?
I agree.
You see how these other people in the countries are being persecuted and they're starving to death. They have
Well, they're desperate.
thieves, huh?
They're desperate.
They're desperate.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate, and we're sitting in a state which is one of the more fortunate. As you look out, that you can see 50 miles away, you can sleep at night,
Yeah.
no humidity, and an understanding community. We're very lucky to be in New Mexico. I'll put us up against anybody.
Absolutely. And as former mayors, I said I wouldn't want to be any place
I
else
wouldn't either.
ever.
No. We have 4 great seasons. The winters are not too severe. The summers are not too hot. The falls and the springs are beautiful. Doesn't get any better than that.
We're sounding like the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Well,
it's
as
true.
former mayors, you two are two of the best. And we've had some good ones, but
Thank
I
you,
work
Carl.
very closely with both of you. And I appreciate
I was
what
very
you've done.
honest. You know, once you bought me, I stayed bought.
Yeah, but you never gave me my bottle of Santa Fe perfume.
Yeah.
Gee, what do I have to do?
Santa Fe perfume. What happened to that?
No perfume. That fragrance did go about 18 months, so it lasted.
Oh.
And you still have a bottle?
Just the aroma of one bottle is
okay.
just there. It's not there.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sam.
Thank you. For
I appreciate
allowing us to be
Larry,
here.
as always.
Absolutely.
Love to Larry. And I was sorry to hear about Diana. What a wonderful person
She was a nice, wonderful lady.
Yeah.
We had
She made
44
you
good
look
years.
good.
Yeah,
Good lady.
yeah. And we have her buried up in the National Cemetery waiting for me.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah.
place.
And I have my Angie. We've loved each other since high school.
I know, you still hold hands.
Yes, we do. 60. We've been married 66 years, Carl.
Wow.
That's older
This
than I
September.
am.
Paul Harvey would talk about you if he still had his
Oh,
show.
remember that?
Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to be from Nebraska. Nobody gets divorced in Nebraska.
No,
God, Paul
You gotta
Harvey
bring in
was
the
here all the
Remember
time,
him?
wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, I used to
He
see
was
him
great.
walking around
Oh,
town.
he was fun to listen to.
Yeah, he was great. Okay, thank you, and
You're
thank you,
welcome.
Santa Fe.
Yes, thank you.